go. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. You are in the right place if you are looking for a deep dive into the NCAP Data Hub assessment tool. Very excited. Those of you who know me know I nerd out on this Data Hub all the time. So I'm going to give folks a few minutes to get here. Let us get to the top of the hour, and then we will jump right in. If you would, as you join, put your name and agency and state in the chat for us. That would be wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and mention now in case we get pressed for time. Yes, Kathy, we will definitely send the recording out to everyone who is registered. We will also post this at the NCAP website for those who were not able to join us as well. So thank you for sharing that with us, and happy to put that out there into the space as we get started. Again, I want to mention that at the end, we will ask you to complete a quick survey. So please take the time to do that. It's very helpful to us, and it's really what has helped us to determine what kind of webinars to offer that are most impactful to you in your day-to-day work, because that's our goal. We want to provide you with information and tools that help you in your day-to-day work. So I think we're getting really, really close, and we may have some additional folks join us, of course, once we get going, but we welcome all at any time. So about 2 more minutes. And take a look at the chat, see if anybody, and also while we're talking about chat, let's be sure that if you have any questions for Jordan or for me, please enter it into the chat or in the Q&A, and I'm going to be helping Jordan kind of navigate that space and make sure that we can answer any questions. A lot of today's content is going to be demonstration oriented. So while we will send out the slides, we also will have a recording of the session so that you will be able to remember when Jordan takes us to each particular place and all the neat tricks that she's going to show us. And with that, I think we are just about ready to go. So officially, hi, everybody. Welcome to the deep dive into NCAP Data Hub Assessment Tool webinar. My name is Terry Bearden. I'm the project director for organizational capacity building here at the partnership, and we are glad that you were able to join us. Again, if you're just joining us, please put your name, agency, and state in the chat. As always, we'd like to ground ourselves in the promise of community action. And so the promise of community action is: community action changes people's lives, embodies the spirit of hope, improves communities, and makes America a better place to live. We care about the entire community, and we are dedicated to helping people help themselves and each other. Thank you. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to our great friend, Jordan Rhodes at Missouri Cares, and she's going to wow us with our Data Hub. Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you. All right. Hi, everybody. Like Terry said, I'm Jordan Rhodes, and I am with Missouri Center for Applied Research and Engagement Systems, CARES for short, and we are affiliated with the University of Missouri Extension. And so today we are going to dive into the NCAP Data Hub Assessment Tool and talk a little bit more about how to use it. And so this will be good if you are completely new to the tool. We will walk through step by step how to use it. And if you are a seasoned pro, stick around because we will go through tips and tricks and a couple of new features that you might not have seen before. And so just really quickly, going to give you a bit of background on CARES. So like I said, we are part of the University of Missouri. And what we are is a big old team of data nerds. We are data analysts, programmers, and GIS technicians. And a large part of what we do is we collect national secondary data. So data from things like the US Census Bureau, the CDC, the FCC, etc. And we take these data, we clean them up, and then we put them all together in these easy to use tools like the assessment tool that we're going to talk about today and our map room. And so the assessment tool specifically is, I'll show you the screen when we get to the tool, but it's going to be at www.cap.engagementnetwork.org. And then we're going to have our / and assessment-tools /assessment tool. So a bit long there. I'll show you how to get there from just that main cap.engagementnetwork.org in a sec. Do also note if anybody is trying to follow along and you have not logged into this site before, this tool is password protected. And so you will have to request a login. I'll show you how to do that. And I will be letting everybody in right after the presentation. So the assessment tool though, what is this thing? It is a very simple 3-step process that is going to allow you to create really robust reports on data for your service area. And so this report is going to provide access to indicators that were handpicked as being most relevant to agency needs nationwide. And this tool was designed primarily with community needs assessments in mind. However, it has also proven itself a truly useful tool for things like grant applications and day-to-day research. And so with that, I also want to draw our attention really quickly to just some of the key data categories that are going to be covered in this report. So we have, of course, age, gender, and race. We have things on childcare, access and costs, household types, unemployment trends, of course, poverty, commuter data, housing quality and types, WIC and SNAP, and access to care. And so lots of great stuff in here. But it's going to be easiest to talk about that while we're actually going through it. And so I'm going to hop over to my internet browser and we are going to dive right in. Okay, so excuse the mess. All right. So I have gone to cap.engagementnetwork.org. As I'm going, if any of you have questions, like Terry said, please feel free to put those in the chat and I can try to get to them as we go, especially since we're not a terribly large group. And so our cap.engagementnetwork.org, once you are here, if you are not logged in, there is going to be a login button in the top right. You'll need to click that to log in if you have already logged into the site before. If you have not, you're going to hover over that login and there's going to be a little button that says register. You're going to click that, enter your information, your email address, and your agency affiliation. And then we will get you added. Now, if you're not logged in, you can still access the mapping tool. But for the needs assessment, we are going to go to Find Data, and we're going to do this Community Needs Assessment button. And that's going to take us right to our assessment tool. So like I said, 3 simple steps. We're going to select a location for our assessment. We're going to select some data, and then it's going to generate a report. So for our first step, we have a lot of different options, but our first option here is a county level report. So let's start with that. So let's say I want to go to Tennessee and let's do the Nashville area. So we'll do Davidson County. And so we have Davidson County added to our report. I use that search bar at the top, but you can also scroll through all of your counties. To add that county to my report, all I did was click its name, and then it gets added right there. And then I can click the X beside any county name to remove it. And so we've got Davidson, and let's do, I think Williamson is close by too. So we can have 2 counties added to our report. Okay, now to move to the next step, we can just click this Data Indicators tab up here, or we can click the little button at the bottom right. Now, this is the meat and potatoes. This is where all the data lives. To view data for each of these categories, you can click the little drop-down tab beside the category name. And then for all of these indicator names, if we see, oh, population with any disability, that's great, but what exactly is this going to tell us? We can click the little I button beside any of these indicator names, and a pop-up is going to appear that's going to tell us that when we add this to our report, it's going to give us, total population for whom disability status is determined, and our percent of population with a disability. It's also going to give us what we call supplemental or breakout data. So whenever possible, we're going to provide data by age, gender, race, and ethnicity. And so this is an example of that. And then we are always going to link you back to the data source. And so with that in mind, let's actually look at the 2 different indicators here. We're going to do urban and rural and veteran population. Now note, if I had wanted to add all of the data we've got to this report, I could have just selected this select all indicators checkbox, and it's going to auto check everything. It's over 100 indicators, so it would give you a very large report. And depending on your internet connection, it could take a minute to load. We can also select, let's say we want all of the population profile or demographic data we've got, or say all of the income data we've got, we can click that checkbox, and all of those data indicators are going to be added. Now, I should say we do not have time, of course, to go through each and every one of these indicators because that would be a lot of talking and probably not too interesting. But I really encourage you all to get in here and explore your indicator list because it is a treasure trove. And so for now, like I said, we're going to look at urban and rural population, and let's look at our veteran population. And then to create my report, all I'm going to do is click this little reports tab at the top, or I can scroll to the bottom and click the little button at the bottom right. And now the tool has done a lot of work for us. So as we can see, we have our location is Davidson County and Williamson County, Tennessee. And then for every indicator we selected over in step 2, we are going to have a bold heading. Beneath that bold heading is going to be what we call a stem sentence that is going to give you some kind of contextual information about that data as it applies to your selected location. Now note that some of our data sources collect data in kind of funky ways. And so if there are any interpretation notes that we think you need to be aware of, they're going to be found in this stem sentence. Okay. Then for every indicator, you're going to have a nice table, and it's going to give you data for your total report location for each county you selected. And then we're going to benchmark you to the state, into the United States. And then beneath this, we are going to always link you back to the original data source. And so then for most of our indicators, we're also going to give you a nice map of your data where we can go in and explore and see, wow, look at the distribution of, we have, our Nashville area, which is very, very not rural. And then we have some little corners down here, right, that where over 99% of our population are quite rural. And so we're going to drill into this here in a bit. But first, I'm going to scroll us through this report, and we're going to talk about a couple of cool bells and whistles. So as you can see, we're starting to see our totals by age group, by race alone. And I should point out a pretty new feature that we have for any of these little charts and graphs that we have in the report. You can click this little stack icon in the top right, and it's going to let you download just that visualization. So for example, if I want to download it as a PNG file type, I'm going to click here. Oh, and it's going to take you to my messy screen. But here we go. We have our nice big visualization, and it's going to always include the data source and where you downloaded it from right here in the image. And so this was something we developed based on feedback that we'd received from a lot of you all that, you know, this tool is great when you are creating a really robust needs assessment, but sometimes you just need that visualization to show somebody in a presentation. And going in and using your Clipper tool in your desktop could be a little funky. And so now you have the means to just export all of these charts and graphs right here. And so let's go down to our veteran population. Again, we have our nice map, we have our table, and we have our population by gender. Now, note that all of these charts and graphs are editable. So for example, right now we're looking at data for both of our counties, our aggregate report location, the state, and the United States. But let's say we just want to look at our individual counties and we don't want the aggregate or those benchmarks. So we can click the little buttons in the legend, so the report location Tennessee, United States, to remove them from the chart and just get your two counties. And you can do this in a lot of different ways. And then you can download this image exactly how you formatted it. And so there is a large level of customization. And so with that, though, I want to take us back up. We're going to talk about a couple of bells and whistles, and then we're going to build a report with a different location type because county level data is great, but sometimes we need something that's a bit more granular. And so I'm going to use this little hamburger menu in the bottom right to navigate back to the top. This menu is really, really handy, especially when you've added 50 plus indicators to a report. It is going to list every indicator you selected, and you can click an indicator name to zoom right to it in your report. So a couple of other things to note with these. One, we have several different ways you can download them. So you can download these reports as a PDF, as an Excel table, or a Word doc. Folks tend to really love the Word doc the best because you can add your own contextual information into our report format pretty easily. And you can customize the colors in your charts and graphs pretty easy in Word. Another thing to point out is this report options tab. So the main thing I want to show you all with this is that there are really two more reports that you can generate from here. One is going to be a quick facts report. And so it is going to give you a nice table view of that long report that you've just generated. And so this is really nice if you're ever creating a handout or just need a quick overview. Note that these quick fact tables are not always going to include that breakouts by age, gender, race, and ethnicity, though. So they are truly overview. And so this is just giving us that aggregate location for our two counties, and then it's benchmarking us to the state. Then, in addition to that quick facts report, we have what we call a source and methodology report. And so this is where we tell you how we got the data. And so this is going to match that comprehensive report in that we have a bold title for every indicator that you added over in step 2. But instead of our stem sentences, tables, charts, and graphs, we're going to give you data background, methodology, and any additional notes. And so this background, methodology, and notes is going to come from our data sources. And then if CARES does anything to create an estimate for the data, we will insert some content about our methodology as well. And so an example of that would be here in a second when we go and create a report for a zip code instead of a county. Some of these data, or for some of these data indicators, we're using what we call a small area estimation model to get those estimates, and we'll talk about that and talk about how to get the info on it. And so for now, I'm going to pop us right back to our comprehensive report by clicking Report Options, Comprehensive Report. And there we go. We are right back. And so I'm going to check our chat really quickly to make sure. Where did the data come from? And let's see, it looks like, okay, Terry, you'd responded a little bit. I can talk a lot more about this. Okay, so we pull data from over 100 sources. A lot of the data in this report are going to come from the American Community Survey. We utilize the 5-year estimates rather than the 1 year because these are more reliable, especially for rural areas. And so with these, we are currently on the 2019 to 2023 cycle. However, we pull from a lot of other sources, and the best way in this tool to get a comprehensive list of our sources is actually to go to this map room. Now, the map room can be a bit of an overwhelming tool. It's not quite as straightforward with the 1, 2, 3 that we have in the report. But when you go to this map room, if you'll click the Add Data button, you have an option to browse by source. And this is going to give you a comprehensive list of all of the data sources that we are utilizing. Now note that this map room contains more data than the report. So some of these sources, the data is not going to be in the reporting tool. But back in that report, so I'll hop over here. I had it open in another screen. Like I said, for any of these, we can click on that I button and see at the bottom where that data is coming from. So, some of these up here are going to be ACS or decennial census. But when we get down here to things like healthcare access, we're going to be seeing things like Center for Medicaid Services, the CDC's BRFIS survey, things of that nature. And so if you have any specific questions around data after this, we can continue to chat, or I'm always happy to chat one-on-one or put you in contact with a member of our data team. And so with that, I'm going to back us up a little bit. And, we were looking at that report that was at the county level for 2 counties in Tennessee. And so to kind of go back to that report so we can all remember where we were looking at this area, right, with Davidson and Williamson counties. And let's say, though, that I am interested in this little area up here that is more outside of Nashville. How do I get data for it? And so I am going to, I'm opening a new window, but you could also just go to the top and click back to number 1 on your report. And instead of selecting county in step 1, I'm going to select one of our other options. So we have the option to create a report for an entire state. For any Massachusetts folks, we also have your municipalities here that you can sort through. But the 2 tools that I really want to draw your attention to are Draw My Area and Pick From Map. And so Pick From Map is really cool. The first thing you're going to do when you get to the map, it is probably going to be zoomed out and it's going to show you the entire United States. You are going to go to this top right corner with our little search bar, and I'll zoom us out a little bit. I'm just scrolling with my mouse to zoom out. Woo! But then I am going to enter Davidson County, Tennessee. And so results are going to populate as you put your location in. In this search bar, you could search for a specific state. You could search for a county name, a city, a zip code. It should even pick up street addresses, though that would be a little, probably a little too narrow. And so once I have zoomed in to my location of interest, I'm going to select my geographic type. So these are different geography levels at which we can make a report. So as you can see, an important one we always like to highlight is our state house districts, Senate districts, and congressional districts. So you can create a report that is, for your district specifically, and it will be labeled as such. But for now, let's do zip code. And so we have all of our zip codes visible here. And I'm going to click this one up here that's kind of towards that top left corner. And as you can see, when I clicked it, it added to my list right here. When I click more zip codes, they're going to add to my list. And same as with that other location picker, I can click the X beside any zip to remove it. So I'm going to start us with a single zip code report, but note that for some of our data indicators, you are going to need to select 5 zips or more in order to get that zip code data. And so let's look at this one zip, and then we can talk about what it looks like for a lot. So in our indicators tab, I've gone ahead and selected a couple of different indicators that I thought it could be interesting for us to look through. So we're looking at population with any disability. We're looking at median household income, commuter travel patterns. Actually, instead of median household incomes, let's do one of our poverty ones. We'll do children eligible for free and reduced price lunch, and population below the federal poverty level. Commuter travel patterns, education attainment, safe unsanitary housing, and then several others that we will scroll through as we go. I'm not going to just list them all here. So again, I could either click that button at the bottom right to proceed to my report, or I can scroll up and click this reports button right here. And so now our report is going to look pretty similar to what we were looking at earlier with a couple of key differences. So our location is now that one zip code that we selected using the pick from map tool. We still have our bold indicator title, our stem sentence, and our table, which now includes data for that zip code, the county into which it falls, and then the state and the United States. And then, as you can see for this indicator over here on the right, we have what we call a benchmark dial, which is a kind of quick way that we try to help you see how your location is measuring up to your state. So we are always going to benchmark you to the state, but we're showing data for the United States as well. So what this is showing is this line, the red line, is our population with a disability in this zip code. The black bar at the top is percent of population with a disability in Tennessee. So as we can see, it's about 15%. And then that blue is our percent of United States population with a documented disability. And so the benchmark dials are going to be red or green, depending on whether your area is doing better than or worse than your state as a whole. And of course, these benchmark dials are only going to be visible for indicators where it makes sense. And so I'm checking the chats really quickly. So for Massachusetts, we typically use county subdivisions. Is it possible to add that layer? So is this, forgive me, I'm not super familiar with our Massachusetts geography. So this is going to be different from your municipalities. If so, we can look into this. I will actually at the end. So I saw our Kansas folks, our Tennessee folks, and our Massachusetts folks. CARES has a couple of other public-facing tools that are available for your state, and I can put those in the chat so you can explore those. And I know our Massachusetts tool in particular has a robust number of location selection options, and so we can chat about that. For now, I'm going to scroll us through this report a little bit, and then we're going to look at one more of our location selection options. And so with our population with any disabilities, we are seeing those breakouts by gender, age, race, and ethnicity, like we did with those other data sets. And again, like we talked about, these charts and visualizations are editable and downloadable. And, you know, as we can see, it's kind of scrolling back up. Sorry, you guys. This ability to drill down to the zip code level is really useful because, you know, if we were looking at Davidson County as a whole, right, we're looking at a much, much larger number of folks. And it says, you know, Davidson County is doing much better than the state in terms of percent of population with a disability, right? But when we get into this little area that was probably overshadowed a bit by some of the large numbers coming out of the Nashville area, we get a very different story. And so we try to give you guys the ability to drill down as granularly as possible. Let's go ahead and jump to our next indicator, which is going to be our poverty levels. And here we are looking great. So something we have not talked about yet is the ability to jump into the map room. I think I did it very quickly earlier. And so note that these inset maps in your reports are clickable. So you can click this View Larger Map button for any of those inset maps, and it's going to jump you into that map room. It's going to give you a nice red outline surrounding your area that you selected. And it's going to give you your data at the most granular level that we have. So as we can see right now, we are looking at a census tract level map. If we wanted to zoom out to say a zip code or to a, maybe let's do a state Senate district, that's going to, right, significantly change our map. In these maps, you can click any area to get more information on the location that you clicked on and on the data for that location. Importantly, in this map room, we are also going to give margin of error measures, which is going to be really crucial, especially when we're looking at these small areas, right? Because these data are trustworthy, they are good, they are estimates. And so we're going to remember that they're estimates and use those margins of error. Now might also be a good time for a quick little side note that, you know, I know for any of us who are data nerds, the data landscape has been changing a little bit recently from some of our federal sources. I will tell you all that currently all of the indicators in our needs assessment and the map layers in our map room, none of their update schedules have been impacted. And so know that these data are still coming at you and updating as they are supposed to. And if anything changes on that, we will communicate with the folks at NCAP, who will then communicate with you all. And our team is doing a fabulous job of being really on top of everything right now. And so we will keep you posted if there are any big changes to some of our core indicators or map layers. So back over here in the assessment tool, let's see, we've got a couple of chats really quickly. Please explain. Michelle, could you specify on the please explain? Oh, I saw a green box around you, but I couldn't hear you. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Oh, what do I mean that the data may be impacted? Yes. Okay. So the kind of Short version is some of you might know that a couple of months back, kind of during administration change, right? Some data websites went offline. So some data sets from the CDC and from the Census Bureau, from the USDA, things of that nature. Some of these sites went down. Almost all of them are back up now. And then there has been some concerns just with kind of some of our state agencies being a little shaken up right now and folks losing staff, that they will lose ability to collect data. Our team is plugged in. We have contacts at most of these agencies, and most of these groups are continuing to collect data as usual. So an example being the NOAA folks, the National Oceanic A. Their acronym is NOAA, and they collect a lot of environmental data on things like wildfires. And so they are continuing to keep that up. And so that's kind of what I was referencing there. And if you have any additional questions, we can chat afterwards. But yeah, know that right now things are looking a-okay as far as our data goes, and we'll continue to keep you updated. I know if any of y'all are like us, there was a bit of panic when things went offline. And so back to our report. I am going to scroll us down, and we're going to look at one more, and that is going to be our children eligible for free and reduced price lunch. And then we're actually going to do something a little different. Our map is not waking up here, but we will, oh, it's because these data are not collected for the state of Tennessee. It's what I get for changing that indicator on the fly. Okay, so I encourage you, if you're to look at these data for your state if you are not in Tennessee, because they are really interesting. And for this indicator, we provide trends over time. So some areas are really interesting where you can see these steep drop-offs or peaks in children eligible for free and reduced price lunch. And which kind of brings us to a nice point, because I always like to encourage folks who are using these tools to apply your local knowledge to the data that you are looking at, right? These data are estimates. They are collected at a national level. They are not omniscient, right? There could be big things going on in your community that are impacting these data that require your knowledge and contextualization. And so, was there a big outreach program that, impacted these numbers in a certain year? You can use your local knowledge to kind of fill in those gaps. And so, let's see. And oh, that's because everyone has been eligible for free and reduced price lunch within the public school system. Go Tennessee. That is awesome. And so, okay, I'm going to pop us back up to the top. And I wanted to show us one thing with our zip level reports. And then we're going to do one more location picker. So for these zip codes, we are able to look at data for one zip code when we select the one. But let's say I wanted a large group of zip codes. So we'll go ahead and do 5 or 6 here. Same as before, when I click a zip, it's added to my list, and I can click the X beside the zip name to remove it if I would like to. Now, note that sometimes you will get a little loading bar on this report. We are actually in the process of streamlining this tool and making it a lot faster. And so here in a couple of months, that will be a thing of the past. But for now, know that sometimes you do have to have a little bit of patience with this thing. So now, we went back right from our report. When I click my number 2 data indicators, my same indicators are still checked. And I can go right over to my reports, and it's going to generate a new report for me. I now have all of these locations listed, and this is going to give me data for my aggregate location. So this is for that specific group of zips all together. And then it's going to give me data for the counties into which they fall, for the state and the United States. And so looking at these aggregates, let's look down at a couple of different indicators that we have available. One of these that is always very interesting is our commuter travel patterns. It's going to give us our number of workers 16 and up in that area. And then it's going to tell you, who is driving alone, how many folks or what percentage of folks are carpooling, using public transit, biking or walking, or working from home. And that work from home section was added here pretty recently, and it is really handy. And so down here with our commuter travel patterns, we can also see that we have a breakout by ethnicity, which is going to be really interesting. And then we have attainment overview for education as our next one. And so this one is going to allow you to get a quick glimpse at how your area is doing in terms of education attainment. So we have our no high school diploma through folks with a graduate or professional degree. And we can see that mapped out here as well. Something I should point out with our little circle charts that I haven't is that you can click to kind of highlight any area that you like. We have this broken out by gender and a couple of other things. Let's look at one more and then we will do a different location. And before I forget it, I forgot to mention when we were talking about our data sources, our data update schedules. And so our data is going to update as quickly as the source updates most of the time. And so we have some data that are updated on a weekly basis. We have some that update monthly, some are annual, and then some are on slower 3 or 5 year schedules. And of course, the decennial census is going to be decennial. And so for most of these, as soon as the data is updated, we kind of have a seamless connection built so that the data in your tool will update as well. The only exception being the American Community Survey data. And so since that is a very, very large amount of data, it usually does take us about a month to get that entirely updated. So it is released usually in December, and we typically have it up by around that time. That could be a thing that is happening. And so, and oh, we've got some positive comments in the chat. That is great to hear. And so I'm going to take us up to the top and we are going to look at one more location type. So over here, back to our location tab, let's say that, for whatever reason, whether it's for programming or a very specific grant application, we are looking at a geography level that is not in this list, right? We're looking at a neighborhood, and we really just need data for this neighborhood or this really funky area within your county. For that, we're going to go to the Draw My Area tool. And so that tool is right here beside Pick from Map, and it's going to look and feel very, very similar. So for this, again, you're going to be prompted to enter a location. If you had already entered a location while using the Pick from Map, it is going to be auto-entered for you. And so we'll stay over here. And this time, let's go into the belly of the beast here. And let's say we are wanting to look at over here up to Church Street, down to 4th Avenue, and we're going to make a big box. So what I'm doing is I am clicking and dragging on my map, and then I double clicked to fill my shape. So I can draw whatever shape I want. And let's see, we've got one question from Kathy, who is looking at median income, and it appears that the system does not calculate that measure for a report region based on a drawn area. Is it fair to say that the tool does not calculate any indicators that require weighting? So I know our medians in particular are the ones that are going to often not have data for those custom areas. Some areas, however, we are able to use what we call a like population weighting methodology on our end, where we look at the distribution of a population and then the distribution of the collected data. And our data team works what to me feels like magic. And we have some documentation on how that weighted estimate works. And so we do have some weighted data, but for medians, we do not. And if you would like more information on that, Kathy, I'm happy to put you in touch with a member of our data team who can describe it much more eloquently than I can. And I will show you all where to find contact information for us at the end of this here. And so now that we have our little custom location selected, we're going to move to our data indicators, and I'll keep these same ones selected, and we'll go over to our reports. It's going to think for a minute or two. No. Well, while it is thinking, I am going to draw our attention to a couple of different things. So first is the support tab at the top. This support tab is if you need a written refresher on the basics of building a report, go to this assessment support, and it's going to give you step-by-step instructions with screenshots. If you were really interested by that map room and you would like to dive in, map room support is going to give you some step-by-step instructions on how to, zoom into your location of choice, find data of interest, and then add it to your map and interact with it at a basic level. And so those are going to be very useful tools or support pieces. Then at the bottom of our page here, it's always during a webinar. At the bottom of our page here, our contact help@cares.missouri.edu is where you can go to contact any of us and ask some questions. I will also re-show you guys here in a sec my personal email on the slides, or they'll be provided on the slides that you receive. Let's go back and see if maybe it just doesn't like what I drew, which shouldn't be the case, but take two. Other folks who are maybe playing along, what the heck? Okay, so know that every now and then the tool is temperamental. If that ever happens and there is you are trying to get a location or a report to load and it is not loading. Again, that contact email in the footer, feel free to reach out. We are always happy to help folks with a large download or to maybe turn something back on that got a little messed up during an update. And can we use Copilot to dive deeper into data and get specific reports? That is absolutely something you can do. And we do have several folks who have been using things like Copilot to create summary reports. We just want to always be aware, right, that the knowledge bases that things like Copilot and other AI tools are drawing from are knowledge bases that were built by human minds. And human minds have human biases. And so we want to always give your AI reports and kind of explanations, a good old human review to check for any unwanted interpretations that these tools could give. And that is a reason we've been asked about creating our own kind of AI tools, and it's something our team is looking into, but we want to be sure that every written explanation that we are providing to you all is one that comes from a data expert. And so, real quick, because there are a couple of cool things that I want to show off, I'm going to go ahead and jump us down to our mental health providers indicator, because this is always a really cool one, in my opinion. So this indicator is going to give us a couple of different things. It's going to tell you your number of facilities that have mental health care providers, our number of providers, and our rate, which is excellent in this little area. Then it is actually going to give you a list of every mental health care provider in your area. And we do this for a couple of the healthcare provider types. And so it is going to give you their zip code, their office phone number, and the provider type. So we know if this person is a social worker or a psychologist or an NP. It's also going to give you a nice list of facilities. So I really encourage you all to go down and dig through some of those healthcare provider indicators, because they are truly awesome. We also have federally qualified healthcare center data, which is pretty new. And the map is not popping up for us right now, but that's another one that is very, very fun to explore. Our last one that we'll look at is our life expectancy. And as you can see with this one, it has removed our small area. This is going to happen occasionally for select indicators that are usually, these are ones that are collected at the county level, so they don't quite have the capacity to support those small area estimates reliably. And so we're never going to give you data that we do not stand behind. But for all of these, we're going to be able to give you county level data. So I'm going to jump us back to the top. A couple of last things. One is, in addition to downloading your reports, you can also share them as a link. I encourage you all to use these. Oh, that's not right. This is a case in which we would contact the CARES help team. I'm sorry, you guys, this one's gone off the rails. Hopefully there's still some very valuable information. So usually this little link, when we click this button, is going to be just a very short line. And we encourage folks to use these links or these share to social media if you want to share your big report to social media, instead of going up to your the top of your page. I'm fighting with the Zoom bar to your little to your URL and copying and pasting that, because that is going to be 12 or 13 lines long, because there's a lot of code that goes in to build this thing. And so we'll get that short link fixed within the day, and oh, it's already looking correct. And so use that to create links to your reports. Folks also like to put these links and pop them in like a Google Drive so that they can go back and access the same report anytime. This is going to be really, really handy for anybody who wants to create like a report once a year or once every 3 years or once a month, because these links, when I click a link and go back to the same report, all of the data is going to be auto updated. So I don't have to go back and say, draw my complicated custom area, hand pick my 70 indicators, and then get my report. If you save your link, your whole report is saved and you can come back to it anytime you please. And so with that though, I am going to go ahead and open things up for any more questions, or if there's anything that I did not show that you would like to see. And then if not, we'll hand it over to Terry to get us wrapped up. So any questions, everybody?
Hi, Michelle. It looks like you may be speaking, but I don't think we've been able to hear you yet. Would you try again?
I wasn't trying to speak, but
Oh, well, you're off mute. Okay, sorry. All right. Anybody have a question that we haven't covered? Let's see. We talked about Copilot. We talked about the median income. What else? What else can Jordan show you? It's rare that we have an expert who can manipulate this report as easily. And Jordan, it's always, absolutely always when you're on a webinar that, something's gonna do. All right, here we go. Daniel, what are the limitations for things to be aware of for rural counties or towns?
Absolutely. So the limitations or things to be aware of for our rural counties or towns. The margin of error numbers may be a little higher in our rural places. And so in those instances, that is where that link that jumps you to the map, which it's not showing our map right now. The links to the maps, let's see if it shows here. There we go. Where you can click to view your margin of error is going to be very, very useful for you. Something you can do to kind of get those in bulk instead of clicking into your map and clicking every single little location to get your margin of error measure. So I'm going to go to, let's say we just did a county level report. And so I'm going to click that geography drop down and go to county. And then I'm going to click the dots up here in our legend, and I'm going to click download data. And I'm going to do population living in rural areas. Actually, I'm going to change this really quickly to poverty level. Okay. And so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to that tool. Oh, sorry, you all. Okay. Download data. And then we are going to select by polygon. You're going to outline your counties, which is a little clunky, but the results are really nice. Every county your shape touches is going to be included. So I accidentally included that one. So there we go. And then we're going to click view data, and it's going to give you a nice table that gives you your county name, your FIPS code, your population and poverty. We don't have a margin of error for the percent, but we have a margin of error here for the totals. And so it's going to give you a nice table view of all your margins of error. And if that's something that you ever need assistance with or need one of us to help you grab, we're happy to do so. And if any of our rural folks ever have big questions, one of our assistant directors is a rural sociologist, and this is her jam. So she would probably be very, very happy to have a conversation. As a matter of fact, I know she would be. And so
we love all brands of nerds, right?
Oh yeah.
All right, thank you, Jordan. So
Absolutely.
I have included in the chat a link to the data convening, which we are going to have this year as a pre-conference to the NCAP annual convention. So I hope you are going to join us. I see Tara, and I recognize your name from the registration, Tara. Looking forward to seeing you there. And as always, we ask you to complete a quick, I think it's 4 or 5 question evaluation, and there is a SurveyMonkey link in the chat for you as well. One last time before we close, any final questions? Anything come to mind? I did want to say, Jordan, I forwarded a request for some access assistance to you, so you'll see that in your inbox. Please know that our friends at CARES are very responsive. So as Jordan said, if you have any issues, feel free to reach out to them. They will make sure that you have access. If you find, hey, I wish this data set or that data set was included at the data hub, this is a conversation we have with CARES every year. So feel free to shoot me an email and say, hey, Terry, when you're thinking about what the data hub is going to look like next year, can you toss this in the conversation? Because we want to make sure that this is a useful tool for you guys. That is why we have it, right? So thank you all for being here. We are just almost at the top of the hour. We will post this recording and the slides within the next day or so, and you'll get a link to those in your email as well. So thank you, Jordan. We always appreciate you being here. And thank you all. Nick, I did forward your email, as I mentioned. So thank you. Thank you all.